is the accountability. Why is it always our fault? Yes, I chose the nice guy. You know what happened? Turned out to be a covert narcissist, completely destroyed my self-worth and confidence. So then I decided to remove myself from the dating pool and heal and grow and evolve into who I am today, meaning now I'm celibate, not dating, and I'm happy with my life. But now I'm too picky because my standards and boundaries are really strong and really high, and I'm going to die with a bunch of cats because I'm too picky. I guess I'll take the cats or the bear or the shark, and I'll stay alone if these are my...
Yo, I'm always trying to figure out what's the foundation behind why a lot of these people feel the way they feel, as far as, them being super mad or angry or bothered about whatever it is that's going on in their life. And so I did a little bit of a deep dive when y'all sent me this video in order to react to. And I always like to give credit to the content creators when I do a reaction video. And so those links will be down in the description to their profile on Instagram or wherever this is. But I like to do a little bit of a deep dive. So instead of just answering the question in a general sense and saying, well, because it takes two to tango and you chose them, and it's not always that they were a covert narcissist, and it's you know, another side of that conversation as far as we not really getting his story, and you out here embarrassing him, and a lot of the different posts that you put up is always in reference to him in a negative way. And you are a single mother and decided to break up your family, and all of the signs was there, and you still love them, and you chose them, and you chose to have children with them, and they didn't necessarily just change overnight. It was something that factored in and triggered them, and it doesn't mean that they're not responsible or they shouldn't be held accountable for their actions. But at the same time, what role did you play in that? Because it's not always one way, and you become a union. And women at a lot of times advocated for equal. And so you can't sit here and then advocate for equal, but then don't take responsibility for what role you played in the demise of the relationship and what was best for the kids and all of that stuff, right? And so, I could easily go in and break this down just from that little 30-second clip, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently today because I want to actually hear some of her previous posts to better understand exactly where she's coming from. Fair? I think that that's fair.
I think I'd much rather be alone than be lonely in relationship. Before my husband and best friend fell in love, I was married for 12 years. And in that marriage, I realize now on the other side of it, I felt so alone and isolated and unseen, unheard, unvalued, devalued. I did not feel good in my marriage now that I'm out of it. Because now I've been alone for a while and I realize I'd much rather be alone and at peace. And yes, there is loneliness, but the loneliness comes in waves. Where in that marriage, the loneliness was consistent. You think that you...
Isn't that interesting? So you stayed into a marriage for 12 years, decided to have children, and you don't have anything good to say? And so the narcissistic behavior, and you got to be careful listening to people that just pick up a phone, because I always like to hear the results first. And a lot of times what people like to do is they like to wind up trauma bonding with people because they feel like they can relate to their story, but they're not necessarily giving you any solutions to what success looks like, because she still wants to be in a relationship. She still wants to be married. And that's why she continues to talk as much as she is about how narcissistic or how much of an issue or how much she felt lonely. And it's always his fault, his fault, his fault, his fault, his fault, his fault. She never talking about, becoming interdependent on somebody, and you probably wasn't all together, because I seen some previous posts where she was talking about, the fact that her whole life she's had issues with love and trauma and people not adding value into her life and all of this stuff. And so my question then becomes, well, did you come into this thing whole, or did you become interdependent on him to fix you? Because if you just now doing the work, then that means that you was never consistently working on yourself before you got into the relationship and you continue to evolve. And did you serve his needs? And did he feel? Because look, no guy leaves because he's happy. You know what I'm saying? No guy agrees or goes into a situation where they want to get a divorce, especially when they have children. And I'm not sure who divorced who or whatever, but I'm using my context clues. No guy goes into it and says, you know what? I'm incredibly happy, and so I want to get a divorce. Nobody goes in and says, "Man, I want to just make her feel incredibly bad." That's not why you get married. That's not why you have children with people. And so you got to take a lot of this stuff with a grain of salt. And they say, "Oh man, I wasn't appreciated. I was lonely in my relationship." Let's watch a little bit more. See if we can mine out some of this stuff.
You have companionship and you have someone to spend your life with. But really, what is that companionship without intimacy, without being emotionally fulfilled and spiritually fulfilled? Also, I felt really undervalued for the amount of work that I was doing, raising children, working, bringing in income, while also doing all of the hidden labor behind closed doors. Yes, there is loneliness that comes along with being single, but there is so much peace and self-respect and self-love that comes along with it. So if you're single, don't worry. These lonely moments in your life are definitely going to pass.
And if it's so great, then why are you complaining so much about it? See, it's one thing to speak about it in general and say, well, this is a sentiment of men, or this is a sentiment of women, or this is what people are going through. But it's another thing to sit there and say, oh my God, it was so bad. And then the next video, oh my God, it was so bad. In the next video, hey, find your peace. And hey, I'm about to be hiking in the woods by myself. I'm happy. Like, it's all bull. It's all bull. It's all nonsense. And I'm not going for it.
But I'd much rather be at peace and alone than be in a relationship and still feel alone and underappreciated. I hope you're having the best day. I love you. I am so curious what it's like to be treated well without having to ask for it. I am so curious what it's like for someone to show up with all the right energy without me having to ask or over-explain what that looks like and feels like for me.
You don't have no friends, no family, nobody that loves you to the point to where you actually know what that feels like. You ain't never ever found nobody else, no old relationship, nothing, nobody in your life that you've ever interacted with. Your energy has never attracted anybody that actually adds value into your life, or anybody that loves you unconditionally or shows up for you or treats you well your entire life, your entire experience, the entire time that you were married or prior to, because you said that that was your best friend and nothing. You don't have nothing good to say about anybody, and you telling me that you don't know what it feels like to be loved? Come on, man. Who's a narcissist here?
Do these people exist? Yes. Do I know this because I am this person? Yes. I am this person. I just show up with all the right energy.
So it's all you. You always show up with the right energy. You great. You're awesome. It's always everybody else around you.
Not for everyone, let's be clear. The energy that I give can't be reciprocated all the time, and sometimes it's too much. Go find less. But what is it like for me to sit in receiving of the kind of love that I give?
You know what this reminds me of? When you go on a job interview and you ask somebody, hey man, is it anything that you could have done differently at your previous job, or what obstacles did you run into? We know this question, right? If you've been in the workforce for any amount of time, you've heard this question in the interview. What obstacles did you run into in your previous position, and how did you overcome them? Oh man, well, you know what? I just cared too much and I loved people too much. And then I gave people the benefit of the doubt. And so I'm going to have to pull back a little bit. It's never you doing anything wrong. And even when you do something wrong, it's because you gave too much of yourself to the other person and left yourself too vulnerable. I show up with too much energy and sometimes I have to pull back.
I have
Come on,
zero
man.
idea because that's yet to come into my life, but I am manifesting the fuck out of that because I deserve the love. We deserve the love that we give so freely to everyone else. Stop settling for less. Stop over explaining yourself to people who can't do the thing. Stop it. Save your energy for the right person because they're out there. These people exist. That's it. I love you. This is just your reminder to forgive yourself, your past self, for staying in situations and places that you didn't belong and overstayed.
You seeing the pattern here? And this is why, sometimes we need to do a little bit more of a deep dive to better understand the people that we reacting to. When you want to look at more than one video, because you get more context, I believe, for us to add value into these conversations. And these conversations are going to continue to be important because we want to use these people as examples, because they volunteer this information publicly on the internet, and we want to use them as examples of how we can learn from them, how we can benefit from it, what we should and what we shouldn't do. And again, I always like to give credit to the content creators, so the link is going to be down in the description for y'all to be able to go and check it out for yourself. But yeah, man, it's like you do everything right. It's always great about you. And the demise of your marriage/relationship is always his fault, which then further substantiates the idea that it's always going to be our fault and it's never going to be anybody else's fault, because men by default are always held accountable. But women they always show up and they always got to take care of themselves also on top of that. Curious as to what you guys think. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. After hours, we back at it tonight, right after last night, and it was absolutely awesome. And the Millionaire Morning Show, we cooking up. Listen, I can't wait to read y'all comments on this one. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Peace.